You are about to listen to a free portion of the Young Turks. To podcast the complete show, sign up for membership at tytnetwork.com/membership.
Friday show. Drop it. We have gotten a lot of mileage out of that power panel intro.
Seriously, yeah.
I mean, we have used it. Let's be. I want to dispel the notion that we haven't used that power panel intro, because we really have.
You know,
Yeah, it's worth every cent we paid for it.
the notion that you don't know what you're doing with that power panel.
Jimmy Dore, it's good to have you back in the studio, brother.
Oh, come on, give me a break.
You missed it though when
you
you went
missed
under.
it.
Oh, I know.
Okay, you know that somebody said, I'm obsessed with it. Somebody sent me a picture they took of somebody who had written on a book or magazine something, Jeb Bush, and it said, come on, give me a break. He didn't do it. Somebody else did it.
Somebody else did it.
Because your come on, give me a break is spread across the world. Come on. Okay. Well, we don't have Jeb Bush to kick around anymore.
I do, honest to God, at least once a day I watch him getting kicked off stage at that Rotary thing. At least once a day I
Like
watch
your
that.
mantra?
I can't. Dude, he does the. He does the double. It's like,
He does the double swivel. I think that anybody who loses at something that profoundly should be forced to do the double swivel.
Yeah, that should be the new thing.
Perhaps like MSNBC. Oh, burn. Okay, so I know that this is not in the rundown, but I'm going to just jump into it without any sheets in front of me. I'm just going to do it, okay? So obviously Jimmy Dore, John Iadarola, Cenk here in the first hour, and I'll obviously join us in the second hour. These are all things that are obvious. Okay. Okay, so here's what happened today. Melissa Harris Perry walked off of MSNBC and said, they've been preempting me every weekend. I'm not going to do it anymore. So you just come out and say it if you're going to do it, right? Don't take me off the air implicitly, basically. And she has some pretty harsh language that had a racial component to it, like, hey, don't treat me like the person you trot out there and does a show. I don't want to misquote her right now. I don't have it in front of me, but it was strong, okay? God bless her heart for that. And then also unrelated, earlier in the day, Rick Tyler, the former communications director for Ted Cruz, was hired by MSNBC.
Ah! And why was he fired from Ted Cruz's campaign?
For being a notorious serial liar.
It was exceeding expectations.
Let's turn him into a journalist.
Well, perhaps it is good training.
He's now the third most dishonest person that's corresponding for them. Awful.
Okay, so let's now, in the immortal words of Marco Rubio, let's dispel the notion that MSNBC is liberal, because they are not. Okay, to paraphrase Rubio.
He was just fired for being too dishonest to hang around with Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
It just happened. They didn't wait a month or 3 months. It was like 5 days ago. And they're like, yeah, bring him in every day.
Yeah.
He'll just give his opinion. He's an expert. He'll just give his opinion. No big deal.
And I want to give you guys context. So everybody who works at MSNBC can be used on any of the shows. So they're going to use Rick Tyler every day. If they want to, Melissa Harris Perry, yes, has a weekend show, but they can use her on any show, right? She's under contract at MSNBC. But they weren't using her at all. Yeah. So, like, progressive voice. Okay. Oh, the guy who was too dishonest for Ted Cruz, too right-wing. Yeah, come on board. So it's done. It's done. The MSNBC, if any of you thought it was still a progressive network, wakey. They're not doing that anymore. And by the way, let's also dispel the notion that they don't know what they're doing, because they do.
They do know what they're doing.
They do know what they're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing.
So it's not like the executives there were like, maybe we shouldn't have that progressive voice on anymore. But on the other hand, we could take a massive right-winger and give him a nice contract. Yeah. That's not an accident. That's not like, why didn't anybody tell us that he was an enormous Republican and she's an enormous progressive? Right.
No, Jake, they heard your criticism of Scarborough and Mika, and they were like, you know what? The dishonesty just got 10 feet higher.
To quote Trump.
No, that's the beauty of whenever Trump is on MSNBC, I really get a thrill watching their journalists speak small talk to power.
So I guess the new slogan for MSNBC is lean back.
Yeah.
Somebody getting some gin and juice. So anyway, that's that. There is no more progressive network on TV. So I guess that leaves us, the Brady Bunch. That's what we look like right now. Anyway, so progressives, welcome. Hey, if I pick up, I always screw up the lines for Sir Mix-a-Lot. I retrieve them. God damn, that was bungled.
I think I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to sing a bit, though.
Right.
Make sure.
Red beans and rice definitely missed them. No, that's not the line. Anyway, so
lines from Baby Got Back.
Oh,
right,
okay.
Yeah, theoretically.
Okay, progressives, welcome. You've got a home here.
Yeah.
Okay, so if MSNBC doesn't want you, well, sad day for them, isn't it? Right? And those idiots couldn't get progressivism to work in the media. I'm sure that right now, and then earlier they had conversations. Well, liberals just aren't entertaining. I guess they just don't work on TV, right? I guess that's how it works. Yeah, I know that's why all of Hollywood is liberal. But somehow liberals can't be entertaining, or perhaps you schmucks couldn't figure it out. Maybe that's why the largest online news network, which is way more than 3 times your size online, okay, in your entire network, is a home for progressives. Oh, it turns out you can be entertaining and get all the progressives to watch you. You just didn't know how to do it. So don't blame liberals, because that's the next thing they're going to do. Oh, it's the liberals' fault. They don't know how to be fun. It's all Rush Limbaugh talking points, right? Yeah. So that's why we had to go to someone really entertaining like Ted Cruz's communications director.
Yeah. We can't be funny like Limbaugh and Mark Levin.
Hey, why are you singing about Mark Levin? Come on, Ted Cruz is the real conservative.
Okay, so maybe we should have like an Irish funeral for MSNBC. Like, get really drunk, have fun, tip our 40s. So, it was nice. It was nice knowing you, MSNBC. Yep. I was on there for a couple of minutes. I'm
Irish. I've been to a lot of Irish funerals and wakes, and I had a cousin who froze to death, and we used his casket as a cooler. And you go to an Irish wake, it just looks like somebody passed out early.
Okay, yeah, they probably wouldn't let you. You know what? If you're on MSNBC, you must apologize. That's deeply offensive. Besides which, you wouldn't have gotten a chance to say it because you're progressive. They wouldn't have let you on. All right.
You know what? It's the same thing. If I can just say, it's the same thing because I'm still in radio, which is old media, and could fill a room like that. Anyway, but if you look at the landscape of AM radio, and it's all even in Los Angeles has got to be at least 50% progressives, right? At least 50% liberal. Los Angeles, right? Hollywood liberal. If you look at the radio, it's all right-wing corporate, right-wing talk, right? And so it's not like we can't make money off liberals. It's just like the way you make money off liberals is blowing up the BS that corporate news wants you to believe. So they're at like that, and it's not. It doesn't work. So you're trying to have a liberal news station, except you don't want them to deliver a liberal message. We want to have liberals on talking corporate talking points, and that's what it is. So we'll give 4 hours to Joe. So liberalism, progressivism, it's very entertaining. He had on, by the way, Chris Matthews had on Dick Van Dyke. I don't know if you saw that interview. So Dick Van Dyke is a big Bernie Sanders supporter. And he's 90-something years old, and he talks about it's time. They've always said this. He goes, he's a socialist. And Dick Van Dyke says, he's an FDR Democrat. We all know that. And he's really giving it to Chris. And Chris goes, hey, could you sing a song? Could you sing a song from Mary, whatever, the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? He goes, could you sing a song?
That was a good
and
show.
Dick Van Dyke is such a good sport. He goes, sure, which one would you like me to sing? And he says one, and Dick Van Dyke. So instead of talking, he makes him sing on a news interview, and he did it.
God damn it. You know what that reminds me of, unfortunately, is Joe Pesci. Make a joke, funny man.
Yeah.
Right?
Or what am I, your clown?
What, am I a clown to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't ask a guy to sing in a news interview.
He's really talented, though. I mean, when you have him, use him.
And he's in his 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weirdly insulting.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, could you dance for me? Can you do that dance?
Exactly. All right. Anyways, let's go forward.
Okay, let's somehow pivot to incredibly serious news. Yesterday, America was struck by yet another mass shooting, this time in Newton and Hesston, Kansas. The shooter, who was eventually killed in a shootout with police, drove through the first town that I referenced, firing shots at the people that he saw from his car before heading to his workplace at Excel Industries, and he began targeting his coworkers. Authorities said he killed 3 people and wounded 14 before being shot dead by a police officer at Excel Industries. He was armed with an assault rifle and an automatic pistol. The initial reports coming out of the police department saying he was using an assault-style long gun. Conservatives love to say that liberals just made up that term, but this is the police department saying it. Now, we have some information, now that there's been about a bit of time since the shooting, as to what might have set the shooter off. A Kansas sheriff's deputy served Ford, it was Cedric Ford who did the shooting, a protection order just 1.5 hours before he began opening fire. That officer says, I believe that probably is the trigger, and it went from there. They said he was upset, but nothing greater than anybody else who gets served PFA. So he was served this protection order at his job, and then some period of time passed, and he returned there with his firearms. Now, why was he served this protection order? And to give you an idea of who this man was, in the order, his girlfriend wrote that on February 5th, he became physical by pushing her, then grabbing her. He placed her in a chokehold from behind. She couldn't breathe. He then got me to the ground while choking me, finally releasing me. And she described him as an alcoholic, violently depressed. It's her belief that he was desperately in need of medical and psychological help.
And instead, we gave him a gun.
Yeah.
So, and there you have America for you. So we've been through this 1,000 times. We're going to be through it another 1,000 times. People are going to pretend to be surprised. And this is the result of corruption in Washington. It's not like the American people don't want regulation on guns. They do. Federal background checks, et cetera. Over 80% approval in the country. So overwhelming. In some of the cases, over 90% approval.
Yeah.
So we theoretically live in a democracy, but in reality, on the national level, we don't. We lost it. So now the lobbyists rule us all. So how do you like this system? So the chance of you being shot by a terrorist in the middle of Kansas is exceedingly small. The chance of you being shot by a coworker, fairly high, right? Yeah. Because now you've all lived through this. We all have, right? Anytime anybody gets fired, in this case, that's a little different scenario, but or someone's really kind of unstable at work. How often have you guys had that conversation? Oh, is he going to come back and shoot us all? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because there's some chance he will. And so that's the real terrorism in this country. We're terrorizing ourselves. It's going to happen over and over again. And it's become so commonplace. This happened last night in the middle of the Republican, or right before the Republican debate. They didn't even bother asking about it. Now, if ISIS had attacked in the middle of a Republican,
that's all they talk about.
They would take up literally half the debate to talk about ISIS. In fact, that did happen.
It did come up, right?
Yeah, that's literally what happened before. They changed the entire debate to talk about the shootings. In this case, it's just a regular old American who is deeply depressed and has alcoholism issues, and he can get a gun anytime he wants. It doesn't matter. Simplest thing in the world. And we take all the craziest people in the country and we make it enormously easy for them to get a gun, and then they shoot us all. No need to talk about that. That's only a real problem, one that affects all of us. So let's ignore that.
Yeah, and the joke that you referenced, everybody's made that sort of joke in America. They don't have to make that in every other country around the world. That's not some universal joke like slipping on a banana.
So you're telling me, Johnny, that in other countries they don't have the term going postal?
Probably not. No.
That doesn't mean anything in Ireland or in England. Going postal doesn't.
Maybe in some countries, but not the vast majority, I don't think. And this guy, he had some kind of criminal background, according to the Broward County, Florida Sheriff's Office, he was arrested in 2000 in connection with car break-ins, then again in 2004 for parole violations. We also have references to earlier convictions in Florida for multiple burglaries, grand theft, fleeing police. This is between 1997 and 2000. Still managed to get an AK-47, the sort of gun you need for hunting deer and protecting your home, of course. He needed a gun that's mass-produced for war.
or shooting up your coworkers.
Yeah.
Either way. And we're in an ocean of guns. All somebody has to do is reach out and grab one. Easiest thing in the world, and shoot everybody in sight.
Yeah, and we know that he was enthusiastic about them. They have a video of him just enthusiastically shooting his AK-47. We actually have available if you want to watch that.
So-
this is a guy who apparently had mental problems, a criminal past, and loved guns. Terribly dangerous thing to have. This is America. We're totally fine with filling our country with people like this, and then playing on their fears and anxieties and the things that cause them to be depressed, but not terrorists abroad. That's the scary part.
Boy, but he must be really hard right then, though. You know what I mean?
imagine.
Yeah, he was very excited by that. And so maybe this will help in getting towards some reform, because it was a rare instance where it was an African-American who did a shooting.
Oh,
so it might scare white people into thinking, like, wait a minute,
We gotta keep-
should everyone have access to guns?
Yes.
Well, maybe we should rethink this a second. Remember, that's literally what happened in California when the Black Panther Party said, oh, well, Second Amendment, we can carry a weapon too.
Yeah.
And the minute black guys started carrying weapons, Ronald Reagan and the NRA got together, not kidding, look it up, okay, got together and said, yeah, let's take away some of those gun rights in California. Okay?
Yeah.
So now in their case, the Black Panthers, at that point, they hadn't shot anybody. They had just went into one government building at the time in California for there to be much tighter gun regulation, pushed by the NRA, signed by Ronald Reagan. So now if we have a black guy doing a shooting, and then all of a sudden people might be like, wait a minute, maybe we should do some regulation. But really, it doesn't matter, because all the people in Kansas already agree with that. Okay, it's not like, oh, Kansas is really Republican, so they don't agree with that. No, 80% of the country agrees, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, in some of the regulations, over 90% of the country agrees, including almost everybody in Kansas. But it doesn't matter if you agree, because you don't live in a democracy.
Yeah.
We're ruled by the lobbyists. So if you don't change that system, just buckle up and wait for the next shooting. It's coming to probably somewhere near you. It's a workplace, it's a school, it's a movie theater, but it's coming. So unless you get money out of politics, you're going to keep getting shot up.
Yeah.
So I live in Pasadena, right? The little old lady from Pasadena. It's a nice white community, whatever. There's been like 6 shootings in Pasadena since last November. And people are talking about it. And the other night, I heard one.
Oh, really?
I heard one.
Wow.
So they've cut back. By the way, when the budget cuts happened in 08 and 09, right, because of the crash, they have never replaced the police in Pasadena. But they are doing. They're giving some corporate tax breaks so they can build high-rise hotels in Pasadena. Awesome. So the corporate ownership of even on the small level is happening in Pasadena, and the gun thing is Pasadena is they're having a gun problem. Are you kidding me? That's how bad it is.
And so, I mean, we've talked about the regulations in general, but specifically, one of the things that's been talked about recently is maybe we should factor into, for the background checks, if you've had a restraining order, if it's been shown that you've been a domestic abuser, perhaps you should be stopped from getting guns in the future. Now, in this case, he already owned the gun, but when people say that theoretically a person could turn violent after they've been shown to be violent, this guy decided to go shoot random people, and then his coworkers could have easily just gone and tried to murder his girlfriend. But the next time that's brought up, that perhaps that should be a part of the consideration when somebody goes to buy a gun, they're going to start talking about the Second Amendment and fundamental rights, because obviously when the writers of the Constitution were talking about this and figuring out which rights should be guaranteed, they wanted to make sure that even a mentally disturbed person could get a gun that they couldn't have fucking conceived of existing back then, so that they go shoot up their coworkers. That's what America's all about.
Yeah, I remember the earlier version of the Second Amendment mentioned AK-47s.
I think it did, yeah.
Yeah, they were huge on the Kalashnikovs.
Yeah, do you know how fast you had to tamp down powder to fire like hundreds of bullets a minute? You do really fast, man. You had to empty out the ball and put the ball in there like super fast.
Yep.
Anyway, but we don't want to give you the impression that gun regulations aren't changing. They are changing, including in Iowa. So up until this week, kids under the age of 14 in Iowa couldn't handle handguns. But don't worry, the Republicans took care of that, and now they'll be able to with no age limit. The bill would allow anyone under the age of 14 to handle handguns with, under adult supervision with no age limit. So if you're 1, if your parent's there, you can handle a handgun in Iowa. doing the great work that they were elected to do.
John, to be fair, the only thing that stops a bad toddler with a gun is a good toddler with a gun.
Toddler with a gun, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, now they have obviously, there's been some pushback against this because it seems insane. Jack Highfill, one of the Republicans who support this, says, you're missing the whole point of the bill. I think this is one of the best bills we've done for Second Amendment rights. And his point is that there needs to be consistency in the laws. And so if you're going to allow 5 or 6 year olds to use shotguns and rifles, you have to also allow them to use handguns because they're for logical consistency in legislation. First of all, that's crazy. Second of all, there's a good reason why theoretically you might let them use a rifle but not a handgun. Because kids tend to be small, it's really difficult for them to pull the trigger on a 3.5-foot rifle and shoot themselves. Much easier with a Glock. You know, they don't make handguns for children. These children will exclusively be using handguns designed with recoil that adult muscles are supposed to control. But they have no problem with 5 and 6 year olds using these handguns.
Look at the insane conversation we're having.
Yes.
Should we allow 5-year-olds to use rifles or handguns? Well, if we're letting them use... No, we shouldn't let them use rifles either. Okay, look, man, it physically pains me to think of what's going to happen to their kids, right? Yeah. I'm not going to have them near my kids, right? We're not going to have guns. We're not going to have rifles. I'm not going to have my 3-year-old or my 5-year-old handling it because I'm not a lunatic, okay? Yeah. And if you're that stupid, I know gun safety, I'm going to teach my 2.5-year-old gun safety. Your 2.5-year-old doesn't know how to speak English, let alone how to handle a gun. And now you're going to say, oh, no, just to be fair, we should let the babies handle weaponry, right? To be fair?
We have to be fair to the children.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? Then you're going to, so we're desperately trying to help you, right? Don't do this. You're going to get your kids killed or yourself killed when they're like, oh, Daddy, what's this? Boom, right? We're trying to help you. It's not in my house. It doesn't hurt me. It hurts you, right? Yeah. But no, liberal, trying to make sure my kid doesn't blow his head off. Yeah, do-gooder. Yeah, okay, fine. Guilty as charged.
But what if that kid is the last line of defense against ISIS?
ISIS, and Marco Rubio's not around.
I know, and I looked up. They're not allowed to use grenade launchers. What the fuck has happened to this?
Freedom. I remember when we used to be free.
So if I want my 6-year-old to use a flamethrower, I should be able to because that's America.
Mm-hmm. So I have 2 points. First, if this is all about self-defense, this is what they say. You should be able to defend yourself against this other guy who also has a gun. Yeah. So why can't we just make it that you only get to have a 22? Everybody can have a 22, which is a low caliber gun. Yeah. Right, which would work for self-defense. And if you shoot somebody with a 22, that'll work. Why do you have to be able to have an AK-47?
You need to blow a gigantic hole through their chest.
So that's my one point. If it was.
But what if your penis was smaller?
Oh, damn it! That's right. How are you gonna? I didn't think about that. Yeah. That maybe just for women then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What if we all saw the video of the guy who said, "Should blind people be allowed to carry guns?" Before you answer, think of this. What? Think of this. What, are you off your medication? That's what I'm thinking. And he said, yes, they should be able to. You saw that video, right? Uh-huh. It was like a year ago or 2 years ago. My last thing is, I hope the NRA doesn't get hooked up with the fireworks manufacturers because there'll be M80s going off all over the frickin' place, okay? Yeah. Can you imagine that? Like, I was taught as a kid, like, fireworks, it's irresponsible to have them. It's something that it's only left to the professionals, and you're not supposed to do it because you can hurt yourself. But they don't care about guns, though. Let's give them to kids. Let's have them in schools. Yeah. Let's have them at hospitals.
Conservatives hate those regulations on fireworks. They hate them.
It's like it's anti-grown-up to be irresponsible with guns. Like, you're supposed to be overly responsible. You're supposed to be, and they just go the other way. It's like they're making the maniacs argument for. Yeah. We saw Rick Santorum with Chris Hardball talking about. He said, "Well, you don't think they should have guns in hospitals?" And he said, "Why not?"
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately that's become more common, and people who have like mental breaks in hospitals are starting to get killed by security guards at hospitals. And the reason that you can't have the kids and you can't have guns just everywhere is because This isn't like putting something into your body where it's like, this isn't about you, man. This is just something I'm doing. The bullet, once it leaves the gun, it doesn't check to see who fired it.
Right.
It can hit anybody. Like in Iowa, for instance, Tuesday of this week, the 12-year-old daughter of an Idaho militiaman was accidentally shot during a meeting. Like, you bring your kid to a militia meeting, she gets shot. I wonder if his opinion has changed. I doubt that it has. By the way, the Iowa House also passed bills that allow people riding snowmobiles to carry loaded firearms and also keep weapons permits confidential. But the whole idea was that you carry the gun to scare off people. You seem to not want them to know that you have a gun before they do something. Seems like you want to use the gun as opposed to scaring them off.
Yeah, well, that Idaho militiaman, he was positive he was going to use that weapon against the terrorists that were going to come, right?
To Iowa.
Yeah.
Oh, well, look at that. It was used, unfortunately and accidentally, on your daughter, which is only not 1,000. It's closer to 1,000,000 times more likely.
Yeah.
So, okay. And he was going to also make sure that nobody came into his house and, and it was self-defense. Also, about 1,000 times more likely that you're accidentally going to shoot your daughter instead. Okay, so we're trying to help you. No, you don't want the help. But no, I'll get my daughter shot without you, you lib. Okay, all right.
So that guy's argument will be, hey, now that your daughter was shot, did you change your mind a little bit on, hey, I got in a car accident. I didn't stop driving cars.
Yeah.
That's what he'll say.
Yeah, well, we also use cars for other reasons.
Yes, exactly.
Right, but, okay.
And we don't let 3-year-olds drive.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Because it's dangerous.
All right.
We should probably take our first break. I think we're about to hit the halfway point.
Really?
Yeah,
I feel like we
okay.
just started.
Yeah, well, don't fill up yet. Chris Christie's next.
Big.
Who did he endorse? Well, we'll tell you. Back on the Young Turks. Just one tweet I want to read because we've got a lot of stuff to do. Rudy Bouquet says, well, Land's End just got added to my long list of companies to boycott. So apparently we're right there with you, Rudy. But I'm not sure my list is that long. I just got Chick-fil-A and I guess Land's End on it.
Chick-fil-A is the most devastating one, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you like it?
Yeah.
I love Chick-fil-A.
Oh, Papa John's. I didn't even ban Papa John's, but I will now. I will now.
I don't even go to Jimmy John's.
I actually had one of their subs the other day. I was like, ooh, surprisingly good.
I had a friend who worked for Chick-fil-A before he was a comedian, and he said that every time they sold a Chick-fil-A sandwich, he had to go, touchdown, Chick-fil-A.
Really?
They made him do that. Touchdown, Chick-fil-A.
Oh, God, that's so annoying. Okay.
That's hilarious.
You should have the people here wear uniforms, and then you could have a little sway over Land's End.
But then I'd have to pay for them.
Oh.
Okay.
I love
But I
that
like the
too.
idea of running into a Jimmy John's and yelling, I hate your dad. Papa John's. Like people like,
This is crazy person.
okay. All right, by the way, so Jimmy, I was on Rolling Stone the other day. Not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Anna's in Time today.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Okay. But I want you to check out Jimmy's work on TYT Politics. So Jordan's got a lot of videos up there. A lot of our videos during the debate coverages also go on TYT Politics. They don't all go on the main channel, right? So youtube.com/TYT Politics. You get a lot more campaign coverage there, more of Jimmy's pieces, more of Jordan's pieces, and more of all of our pieces. Sounds funny. Okay, and
I like your pieces.
yeah, well, thank you.
Got some fries with those pieces?
No, I'm boycotting my own pieces.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, and also, of course, membership, tytnetwork.com/join. Come support the show. Be part of the family. Okay, next.
All right. Sports Illustrated decided to do something pretty interesting when it comes to its latest cover. They featured 3 different covers with 3 different models. One of them was Ronda Rousey with her obviously very athletic figure. And then they had a traditional model, and then they featured a non-traditional model. Ashley Graham, who's full-figured, and we have an example of what it looks like. There you go. And it got a lot of praise because not only did Sports Illustrated focus on one body type, they're trying to make a statement about all body types and how whether you're athletic, whether you're skinny, whether you're curvy, you're beautiful. Okay? I like that message.
Well, it helps that she's beautiful.
Well, she is beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to
Absolutely.
say,
No,
not everybody's beautiful, but she is.
Yeah, all 3 of them are beautiful. All 3 of the models that were featured are gorgeous, right? Now, Cheryl Tiegs, who's the traditional model from back in the day, disagrees. There she is on a Sports Illustrated cover from back in the day. She released a statement about what she feels about the Ashley Graham cover. She actually thinks that it's sending an unhealthy message. So she says the following: I don't like that we're talking about full-figured women because it's glamorizing them because your waist should be smaller than 35 inches. That's what Dr. Oz said.
Oh, then it must be true.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sticking to it. I don't think it's healthy. Her face is beautiful, beautiful. But I don't think it's healthy in the long run. Okay, so I just find it so interesting that someone who's a traditional model in an industry that has led to so many unrealistic body expectations that women have, anorexia and bulimia and all sorts of eating disorders, has the audacity to look at a model like Ashley Graham and say, you're not healthy, you're promoting an unhealthy lifestyle. Look, there are women that look like Ashley Graham that are extremely healthy, okay? Just because someone has a high BMI, it doesn't mean that they're unhealthy.
Yeah, in fact, there's one on the set. Okay, I happen to be a guy, but my doctor said, I remember that almost every one of them says, you are morbidly obese, but shockingly healthy. They're always flummoxed by it. They're like, I don't get it. You're way too fat to be healthy, but you are. Okay, so now I know that, of course, in general, obesity can lead to a series of issues like diabetes, and it might come up later, etc. But she's not obese. She's not, I mean, she doesn't have health issues like, oh my God, you don't look at her and go, oh my God, I hope she goes to a doctor right away. I mean, you want to play doctor with her more than you want to send her to a doctor.
First of all, if you look at that picture, she has these sexier hips. Like, the thing that turns men on is the waist to hip ratio. And she has a great waist to hip ratio, if you notice that.
No, Dr. Oz says that her waist just isn't small enough. I'm sticking to it.
I know. But they did, and I've talked about this on the show before, they did studies. They took Playboy models from like the 1960s and Playboy models from the 1990s. They're much skinnier overall, but their hip to waist ratio was exactly the same. And that's the thing that triggers men's mind, because they've done studies. Women with a certain hip to waist ratio are the most fertile. They're most likely to get pregnant and carry a baby to term. And that is from millions of years of evolution, makes us want to have sex with them because we all want to do is procreate. So it's all unconscious stuff. You don't even know what's going on. And that's why she's still sexy to men, because not only is she pretty, but her hip to waist ratio is fantastic. That is a great picture.
She's beautiful. Whatever. These conversations really irritate me. But the thing that I want to bring up about men and what they like and the hip to waist ratio is, look, I feel like women have a lot of expectations when it comes to the way they look, right? And there are some men that like curvier women, some men that like more slender builds, men who like more athletic builds. There's all sorts of things that guys like. But what really irritates me is whenever you have conversations about men's bodies, right? It's a completely different ballgame. So last year there was this trending story about the dad bod and how women are like, oh yeah, the dad bod. Man, it's so sexy. Men let themselves go, and it turns me on. Men don't talk about women like that. Men don't like look at women and say, "Oh yeah, she's so hot after she had that baby." You know what I mean? Like it's
well, some guys do, but I don't know that
few.
you want to date those
very
guys.
few. That's like a very specific fetish, I guess.
The problem with men's bodies is that they're disgusting. They're covered with hair
No,
and
they're
sweat
not disgusting.
and skunk. I don't know how women get into guys' bodies because they're gross.
Oh, I'm into men's bodies.
I know. It's good. Thank God.
Yeah. I had a friend who once told us about his girlfriend. This quote reminded me of it. Oh, she's got a beautiful face. Beautiful face. We were all like,
that's just not.
like,
a nice thing to
uh-oh. Okay.
I mean, if
Anyway.
a guy's body was, smooth and waxed and all that stuff, and
I
looked,
love
and it had
hair.
like maybe.
I love
Really?
chest hair.
Oh.
Yes, I love
Look
it.
at
Like
that.
I love
Okay.
hairy
No
legs.
kidding.
Not a big
Wow.
deal, but I'm just saying.
Oh, I didn't even think about you.
I don't want to say it.
But,
I'm back. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, there
It's hot.
it is.
It's hot. It's like masculine. I don't know. Like hairy chests turn me on. I think they're sexy. So
How about a hairy back?
that does not turn me on.
Damn.
That's
too
where
much.
it stops.
The bridge too far. Okay.
All right,
Let's go forward.
let's do it. Whitey Bulger, who's serving pretty much the rest of his life in prison because of 11 murders that he was involved in, just recently got 30 days in solitary confinement. Now, even though he's a deplorable person and he deserves his prison sentence, he got that solitary confinement because he was allegedly caught masturbating. And the question is, should inmates be allowed to masturbate? Should they be reprimanded or punished in any way if they're caught doing anything sexual? Well, let me give you the details. A male corrections officer was making early morning rounds, and the now 86-year-old was reportedly seen masturbating in his cell with the lights on. Okay. So the authorities put him in solitary confinement for 30 days, halted his commissary and email privileges for 120 days, and even took away his personal property for 30 days. Now, he responded to this by saying, "I'm 85 years old. My sex life is over." He denied that he was masturbating.
Okay, he's lying. He said he was applying medicated powder to an irritation on his genitals.
That could be true.
Yeah, no. The irritation needed to be scratched for other reasons, okay? So, are you kidding me? But this actually, like, this is the guy that you least want to root for on the planet. 11 murders, okay, that we know of. Right? But this is what we're putting people into solitary confinement for?
Really?
Solitary confinement is right
Torture.
on the precipice of torture, right? And oftentimes over the precipice, and it usually depends on how long you stay there. And we're doing 30 days like it's no big deal. Like 30 days in solitary is terrible. Terrible. That's because we sometimes put people away for years in solitary confinement because they're in prison, so they don't count. They're not humans, right? And then on this issue of should they be allowed to masturbate, with all the prison rape there is, of course they should be allowed to masturbate. Like you're saying, there's rampant prison rape across the country, right? They're not regulating that, but if you're beating off like, hey, watch it. Get back to raping other guys instead.
It's amazing.
Are you insane? They should be encouraging it. Get your aggression out.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Every guy, you got to wake up in the morning and masturbate. Let's go up and at them. It should be part of their regular schedule so they don't rape each other and they don't get into fights.
They should have threw a party for this guy. There should be a parade. People are like, what's the parade for? There's an 86 guy jerking off. 86 years old.
I was actually very impressed by the fact that he has a sex drive at 86.
And he busted out of it. It was all in his head, too. What a great imagination, because he's in jail.
Yeah.
It's not like he's got a video.
No, but that's why I always thought, like, I don't understand the whole, like, prison rape thing, and they, all these conservatives talk about, well, if you're on an island, what do you do? Of course everybody's going to turn gay, right? Like, no, why would I, if I'm straight, why don't they just masturbate, right? Why do they need, well, I guess I'm out of options. They're right here. This is your options, right? Use your mind and think about women because you're straight. But they're like, nope. Well, let's go immediately to male-on-male rape.
Yeah, look,
It's madness.
just because someone's behind bars doesn't mean that they lose human nature, right? Human nature still exists. And so the question is, how do you allow them to do things that are still healthy in a safe way that doesn't harm other people? So I totally agree with you, Cenk. If you want to do something about prison rape, if you're actually concerned about this, well, then you should be applauding someone who's masturbating as opposed to forcing someone to have sex with him.
I don't even know what's wrong with it.
I don't
like,
either.
why do they care? What is you're putting your morals on him? Like, when he committed the 11 murders, that's when you put morals on him and go, hey, you know what? I'm judging you. I'm allowed to judge you for killing other human beings, right? But what you're doing to yourself, what is 1800s? Was this Victorian England? Who cares that they're masturbating? Like, that's a thing they care about? And you want all those prisoners, the murderers and all those guys pent up, go through jail. I haven't orgasmed in a month, right? Yeah, that's the guys you want walking around in jail.
I could see the signs at that prison in the bathroom. You shake it more than twice, you're playing with it.
No, I'm telling you, mandatory masturbation in prisons, it'll solve a lot of problems.
I'm with you.
Mandatory masturbation is kind of like sexual assault, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like
You're
forcing
yourself.
You're forcing people to touch themselves.
don't force
like there's
myself
something
on me.
weird about that too. Like you can't.
I
to
forced
assault yourself.
Your Honor,
No, but seriously, that you can't tell someone, you can't force someone to do something sexual.
Okay,
right?
Anna, it's not a real proposal.
I know.
They're not actually going to apply. No, I would consider it, but I'm pretty sure they won't let me do it.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, Being a good parent could actually take a toll on a parent's health. This is according to a new study by researchers in Northwestern University. And what they did is they looked into parents that are extremely empathetic. And they realized that the more empathetic a parent is, the more likely they are to have inflammation. So let me tell you how this all works. They found that while the children of empathetic parents are better off both physically and emotionally, the parents' cells reveal chronic, low-grade inflammation. When their children suffer psychologically, empathetic parents' immune systems take a hit, which is incredible. So they looked at 247 pairs of parents and their adolescent children on how often and to what degree parents could understand their children's feelings and respond with appropriate concern. They also took blood samples. Empathetic parents and their children were both better off psychologically, but they differed when it came to physical. Children of empathetic parents also showed lower levels of inflammatory markers, but their parents were just the opposite. Their samples revealed the low-grade systemic inflammation.
At first, you read the headline, being a good parent will physiologically destroy you. And you're like, that can't be right. That's just, that's crazy talk. But once they explain it out, you're like, oh, I get it, right? And
yes.
And I know when my kids are hurt, like, I don't know what's happening physically inside me, but what I feel is, oh, no, right?
Yeah.
And so can that then translate into something going wrong with you physiologically as well? There's a lot of logic in that.
Well, it's the placebo effect is kind of related to this, right? So whatever you're having an emotion in your head, it's going to have a physical reaction in your body.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So this made me think of my mom, because my mom is the most empathetic mother imaginable. So if I ever go through anything traumatic or sad, or if I'm depressed, she has like a physical reaction to it. And growing up, I used to think like she's overreacting, she's faking it, like just calm down. But no, it's real. It has real physical ramifications when her child is going through something terrible, right? And it's because you don't want to see your kids going through that kind of pain. When you're empathetic, you feel their pain.
You know what? Apparently I've been doing it all wrong. I should be like, I don't give a damn. Yeah, so I'm not going to let it touch me and bother me, that's for sure. You're on your own, kids.
No, I think the lesson here is don't underestimate how difficult it is to be a good parent, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people think about how much of a sacrifice it is to be a parent, right? Like, I keep going back and forth as to whether or not I want to have kids one day. I read stuff like this, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm cut out for it, because I don't want to go through this. I don't want low-grade inflammation.
I can assure you that it's a minor problem compared to the upsides of it. Right. No, and there are many downsides that we've talked a lot about on the show, but it's a unique feeling, literally unique, right? There's no other way to understand it unless you have it, and so. But don't get me wrong, also a giant pain in the ass.
Well,
so you make the call.
There are ways to mitigate this, though, and that's the whole reason why they're doing studies like this. So usually when you take parenting classes or parenting therapy or family therapy, there's this huge emphasis on empathy. Feel empathy for your children, feel empathy for your family members. But what the researchers are saying here is that that type of therapy should also focus on self-care, making sure that parents are taking care of themselves and their well-being as well as their children's well-being, right? And I think that a lot of parents are selfless, right? And that's human nature. They want to care for their kids and they forget about themselves, and that's not necessarily a good thing either.
Now that I've had kids, I can't believe parents who don't care about their kids.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. And I'm like, man, maybe they just don't have the same genes we do, right? How could you not care? It's amazing to me.
I think it's because they don't care about themselves in a sense, right? I think it's because they have a low opinion of themselves. This kid came from me. He's shitty too, right? I'm a piece of shit. This kid's a piece of shit. That's what I think.
Wow.
I think it might be unconscious.
I never thought about it that way, but maybe that's why my egomania, since I don't know if that's the right way to say it, since I'm an egomaniac, I probably think like, oh, my kids are so important.
Maybe.
I mean, they are worthy of so much love.
Well,
well, in that case, your egomaniacal, behavior is good.
Yeah, and we found an upside to it.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to tell you two random stories since we have a couple minutes left about parenting. The other day we had a play date at my house, and I'm always like, it's the first kind of play date we've had. And I'm like, play date? What's up? And then we had it. I was like, oh, I used to have play dates all the time when I was a kid, when my parents' friends would come over and they'd have kids. Nowadays, we'd call that a play date. No, it's friends coming over and the kids play. You don't have to call it anything. Just invite your friends over. That's it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly.
But what's the real intention? Is it because the parents want to hang out, or are the parents forcing themselves to hang out with one another so their kids can hang out?
I think you nailed it. I think that's the point at why they call it a play date.
Oh my God, being a parent sounds like it's terrible.
Because you know why? Because, like, for example, you invite parents over from your kid's school. Like, you wouldn't necessarily go find those parents and be like, hey, you guys want to hang out? Right? But since your kids are together in the school, and then you have to bring them together.
And then you're forced to hang out with people that you otherwise would not hang out with.
Right, but as it turns out, they were good people, and I'm glad we did it, and it was a lot of fun. Okay, now one more random story for you guys. So Supreme Court opening happens when Scalia dies, right? And a couple of people online said, "Oh, Cenk, they should put you on the Supreme Court." Obvious, the most obviously inconceivable thing you've ever heard in your life, right? It's just internet commenters. And my dad says this.
Oh,
right?
I love this.
And my mom starts taking it seriously. Okay? I'm like, Mom, okay. She's like, you're a lawyer. You're a lawyer. Okay? And they're saying it online. I'm like, Mom, they're not, it's not they are saying it online. It's two dudes somewhere, right? Like, my mom thinks that if she sees it on Facebook, in the beginning, she doesn't anymore. Facebook put it up. Like, she's like, oh no, Facebook said you were going to be on TV. That's how important it was.
Aww.
Okay? And so now she's a Facebook pro. But so she's like, no, people are talking about you being on. So she asks Wendy, like, would you guys move to Washington? Okay? And Wendy's like, I love you, but this is not real. This is not real. And then she turns to me, oh, she doesn't want to move to Washington.
No. What I love the most about this story is that it doesn't matter how old you get. Like, you're a grown-ass man, right? And you still have your parents, like, thinking of you as, like, this up-and-coming teenager. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they're rooting for you. They believe in you more than humanly reasonable.
Yeah.
But that's balanced out by my wife's healthy skepticism.
Yes.
Supreme Court. Right. Which she's right in that particular case, obviously. But I love it. My mom's like, oh. And then I brought it up again another time. She's like, no, Wendy doesn't want to move to Washington. like we've got that Supreme Court locked up. The question is, should we move or not to D.C.? That's what's holding it up.
Jack could be on the Supreme Court for life. Changing the world.
She knows.
I mean, I'd like to see you on the Supreme Court, Cenk, but I don't know. Do you think you have the intellect to match a Judge Thomas?
Okay, but can you imagine my confirmation hearings? Now, Mr. Uyghur, the time that you said these motherfuckers, the tape did roll on me.
Do you still believe that the government, and particularly the Senate, is bought, Mr. Uyghur?
Well, that I got no problem with.
Yeah.
Yes, goddamn right it is. Okay, all right, we're out of time, guys, kind of. So don't worry, we're back tomorrow. South Carolina election, that's the Democrats, Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton. So that is at 6:30 p.m. Eastern is when we're going to start the coverage, tytnetwork.com/live. Everybody check out TYT Politics, youtube.com/TYT Politics. And then, of course, become a member and get all the post games. Today, it's Malcolm in the Middle, totally true or totally bullshit. They're going to do that. Next week, I can't wait to come back and do more post games if there's not a debate every single night, because I've got a bunch of post games saved up. I want to go through the soundboard. I got in an accident, and then my insurance, I think, is not, they're going to say I'm at fault, and I am in a rage over it.
Dude, when are you going to stop,
Getting
driving like an idiot?
Okay, see, now she's not on my side. You
No,
see
I'm
that?
not. I see how he parks on a daily basis.
No, you're the one who parked too close to me.
You're a mess.
Okay, no, I'm such a good driver it'll make your head spin.
So
literally, when I hit you, your head will spin.
I called my insurance company because I hit I hit something, right? I hit I had two hits. I wanted to combine them, right? It was my fault. I hit like a wall, like a thing, And
Yeah, well, it definitely wasn't the wall's fault.
yeah, it was kind of the wall's fault if you were there. And so I wanted to combine the two, and I just want and so what I said was I actually hit a bus, one of them, but the bus kept going. Like I heard crinkle, crinkle, and I'm like, what? And the bus just keeps going. I'm like, okay, nothing's wrong with the bus. So when I called the insurance company, I said, I have two things. I hit a wall, and my car got hit in a parking lot. I don't know why I just didn't say it was all the wall.
One, yeah.
Because I never went through this before. I never had to do a claim and whatever. And so I just go, and then she says, well, you'll have to get a police report for where was it hit in the parking lot? And I go, I don't know what parking lot it was. I just noticed it when I got home. She's like, well, you have to get a police report. I'm like, I'm not getting a fucking police report for something that didn't happen.
Well, in that particular case.
That's fraud.
Yeah.
I can't do that, right? That's illegal, isn't it? So I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I can't go get a police report. Now I'm really feeling illegal, so I didn't do it.
Okay.
I still have a dent in my car.
You should probably stop talking about this on a public forum. Because I think it's.
No, but he didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
He didn't do it, so it's okay.
I didn't
I
do
know,
it.
but like telling the insurance. Anyway, we should move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you imagine the insurance company calls you? We watch the Young Turks.
Oh, everyone watches the Young Turks. We're black.
Okay, and then March 9th debate is for members only, so everybody join up, tytnetwork.com/join. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.